And now for something completely different, I want to show you guys my cartoon collection. A lot of people have said to me, Mike, through going back and collecting all these video games and playing the old video games, I'm trying to recapture my youth. But this is not my first attempt to do so. Actually, before I started really collecting video games again and starting to play the older video games, my passion was actually collecting cartoons from my youth. So what I want to do in this video is show you some of the great cartoons that I've collected over the past couple of years that I used to watch growing up. One of my absolute first loves, cartoon-wise, was actually a little bit of Japanese animation that came over to North America and just absolutely won my heart. And it's one of my first cartoons I ever remember really getting into. In fact, it's one of the first cartoons I actually pleaded with my parents to go out and buy the toys for. And that is Voltron. And I'm fortunate enough that I went out and picked up this set when it was still available. I don't know if it still is, but each disc cost about, I think it was like $29.99. So yeah, I spent a lot of money, but I have the entire set of Voltron on DVD. And it's cool the way they did these sets up. These are actually tin cases, which are okay. DVD quality is pretty good for an old 80s cartoon, and each case is actually one of the lines that forms the major Voltron robot. So anyways, a really cool set to have. I have the complete Voltron series. Another Japanese anime that was brought over to North America and was very popular, one of my favorites, I remember watching it every afternoon when I got out of school on a channel called ASN, was Robotech. And I was lucky enough last year to pick up this set. It basically has the first three Robotech wars. I don't think it has any of the newer stuff. But the only real Robotech war I remember was the first one. The Macross Saga is the only one I've really watched. I picked up the set last year. I've watched the Macross Saga. I've watched a couple episodes of the second saga, but haven't really got into it yet. But I love the first season of Robotech. Incredible show. Probably one of my absolute favorite shows growing up, and anybody who's in my age range, I was born in 1980, so I'm 32 right now, would definitely remember this show. And that is He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. And I didn't buy these DVDs originally when they first came out because they were like ridiculously expensive. I think they were like $69 or $79 each. So I waited, and I was lucky enough that the original print releases of the He-Man cartoon on DVD actually went on sale for about $14.99 each. So then I picked up every single edition. So I have the complete series of He-Man, Masters of the Universe, on DVD. Looks really cool, colorful case, but I actually don't display this side. I display the other side, and I'll show you why in a second. That's because the other side has this really cool artwork. So you can see Snake Mountain and also Castle of Grayskull. So this is what I display on the outgoing shelves, and it's just really cool to walk by, and it brings back so many memories of me from my youth. One show I don't have the complete series on DVD, and I really wish I did, but it just never became available, is the real Ghostbusters. So I have Season 1, which is excellent. It's got a lot of great episodes, such as the Boogeyman episode, which was probably my favorite episode from the first season. But I would love to have the complete series, and it's never been released this way. However, I remember there was a time-length DVD set with the entire series, and I think it was like $1.99, online order only. I really wish I had spent the cash and picked it up, but I always hoped they'd come out in the individual sets like this. So when this one came out, I bought it right away. Unfortunately, they never released any DVDs past this, so I guess it either wasn't a good seller or just not cost-effective to put it out. But anyways, I'm happy to own the first season, and I really wish I had more. Of course, everybody remembers Disney cartoons. Now, this is a Disney cartoon series that my wife actually owns, but I'm excited to watch with her, and that is Gargoyles. So we have the complete Season 1, and we have Season 2, Volume 1. I don't think they ever released another DVD set after this, but anyways, it's one of my wife's favorite cartoons, and one I really enjoy watching. Gargoyles. Life is like an aeroplane here in Duckburg. Yeah, DuckTales. I have Volume 1 and 2 on DVD. I picked these up last year at Walmart during Christmas time. They always put these crazy DVD sets on sale. really good time to go pick them up. They were $10 each, and I really wish I had found Volume 3 at the time, so I'm still looking for that, but I have DuckTales, Volume 1 and 2. Always a great romp to go back and watch. And the exact same day, I picked up at Walmart again. I haven't even opened these yet. They were $10 a piece as well. That is Disney's Darkwing Duck, Volume 1 and 2. So, anyways, 2 great shows, both of them featuring Launchpad McQuack. Love some Disney cartoons. Of course, I also really loved video game cartoons growing up as well. Of course, I'm MichaelBtheCartoonGenie. But probably my 2 favorites I've managed to go back and pick up. I don't have Captain N the Game Master. I don't know how I missed that, but I've got to go back and eventually pick that up. But I do have the complete animated series of The Legend of Zelda. And guys, let me tell you, this is actually a great show. Yeah, sure, they bring up the fact all the time about Link saying, "Well, excuse me, princess." But other than that, this is actually a pretty solid cartoon that follows the actual Legend of Zelda pretty well. So, if you haven't seen it yet, I'd advise you to watch it. Actually really fun. But I'm a huge Zelda mark, so maybe that's why. And probably one of my favorite cartoons growing up was The Adventures of Super Mario Bros. 3. I remember when this first came on. I think this actually replaced Captain N the Game Master. It was a pretty interesting cartoon, and definitely the best Super Mario Bros. Show that ever came on. So, The Adventures of Super Mario Bros. 3, incredible DVD set to have. So a little bit earlier, you would have heard me talking about Japanese animation. Well, this is one I didn't see right away, but I actually really got into it when I was around 15 to 17, and I started watching the old cartoons and said, "Oh man, this is incredible." So of course, when they started releasing them on DVD, I had to pick them all up, and I went a little nuts with this, but let me show you what I'm talking about. The first series is actually Dragon Ball, and I have every season of the original Dragon Ball, which tells the incredible story of Goku right after his grandfather passed away, all the way up till when he beats Piccolo in the tournament, finally wins the tournament, and him and Chi-Chi run off and get married. So that's the first season and the first series, Dragon Ball. That was followed up by my favorite in the series, Dragon Ball Z. Now, for me, Dragon Ball Z was the best from the first season all the way up to the end of the 3rd season, which was the Frieza saga. Then it started getting a little crazy into the Trunks saga. But they didn't stop there. They went on to the Cell saga, and it just went absolutely nuts from there, finishing up with Majin Buu, finally. But, you know what? I have all 9 seasons of Dragon Ball Z, and they're fantastic. From a collector's standpoint, this is what it actually looks like on my shelf. Pretty awesome. So something I never watched until they became available on DVD, but I'm still excited to have them, were Dragon Ball GT, Seasons 1 and 2. I mean, come on, I bought all the Dragon Balls, I bought all the Dragon Ball Zs. How can I not buy these and continue the storyline? So guys, this is a series I only recently picked up, but it's something I've always wanted to own on DVD. I just never ever picked them up. Until, actually, the Avengers came out earlier this year. I'll go into Walmart one day, and there they are. They're all on sale for $10, and I say, I can pick up the whole series for $50. Probably not going to do much better than that. So I picked them all up at once, and that is The Uncanny X-Men. Most of you remember this was a Fox Saturday morning cartoon, and it was incredible. I'm only so far through Volume 1 and Volume 2, so I had to watch Volume 3, 4, and 5, which I'm excited to do. Another cartoon came out at the exact same time, and this is one that I don't own on DVD. I don't even know if it ever came out, and that was the Spider-Man Fox series, which, in my opinion, was probably some of the best Spider-Man cartoons of all time. I don't own them on DVD, but I've been watching them on Netflix recently, and hey, they're incredible. Alright guys, so we're starting to get into some of the heavy hitters. One of my favorite shows, and probably one of everybody's favorite shows growing up, was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Now, it's one series that I really lacked in collecting for. I just never knew the DVDs were available when they first came out. I don't think I was collecting cartoons then, so I missed out on a lot of great ones. And mainly what I picked up at Walmart when I saw them on sale for like $5, $10. So all I really had was Volume 4 and Volume 6. Not much of a collection. Until the other day, I walk into HMV and I look at this giant box on the floor, and I look inside and it's got this van, and I figured it was a Scooby-Doo mystery van set. Yeah, it wasn't. Let me show you. It was, in fact, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in their battle van, and this little van here, if I open it up, holds 23 discs, which is all 10 seasons of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And ever since I picked this up, that's all I've been watching. I'm some of the ways through season 3 right now, and I'm starting to get to the really exciting stuff, like when they first meet Casey Jones, first run across the Rat King. So, really cool. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on DVD. Yeah, I'm sure this is not a surprise for anybody, but one of my favorite cartoons growing up, probably one of my favorite cartoons of all time, is in fact Transformers. Hey, I'm a kid of the 80s. What a surprise, right? But unfortunately, when Transformers originally first came out on DVD and I went to look for it, they were super expensive. I think it was something like $90 to $129 here in Canada for each portion of the season. And that's the real burner right there. You didn't even get a full season. You just got a portion of a season. So I never picked them up. They went out of print, and then they got even more expensive. So I thought, there's no way I'm ever going to get the complete series on DVD. Then my wonderful wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, goes on eBay, and she finds this. And this is actually the Japanese collection of Transformers. It's every single episode. However, when we got it home and I plugged it into the DVD player, everything was in Japanese, including the menus. So I was like, oh my god, I can't even watch this. Luckily, I fooled around with the menu a little bit, and I found the language selection and switched over to English, and I watched the entire series of Transformers on DVD. I was so excited to have this, but it was never the real thing. But then the amazing people at Shout Factory started releasing them on DVD. Now, I never picked them up. They weren't super expensive. They were still like $25 per series, which is a lot better than the 100 that came out before, but couldn't really justify it where my wife had spent so much money getting me the Japanese set. That wasn't until the entire box set came out that Christmas for, I think it was around $79 at Costco. And I eventually convinced her that I should pick it up. So now I have a North American version of the complete Transformer series on DVD. This case is so cool. You got the touch, dun, dun, dun. You got the fire. Only kidding. But anyways, really cool box set. It's got every single episode of Transformers on DVD. Came with some really cool fridge magnets that I'd love to show you, but they're out of my fridge. Funny thing is, that series actually never came with the movie. There was an open slot towards the back of the series for you to put the movie in, but it wasn't released. That was until Shout Factory, a little later that year, released this, Transformers the movie on DVD. So, I mean, what's a whole cartoon set if you don't have the movie, which was an integral part of the original cartoon series? That's when Transformers completely went off the rail, and after, I think it was season 3, they shut down Transformers. But then a company in Japan actually started producing Transformers cartoons, and I can't remember what the actual name was. I want to say Akira, but I know I'm completely wrong there. And there was a whole series after that started with the Headmasters. So I picked this up. The only problem is it's dubbed. I hate watching dubbed things because mainly when I watch movies or cartoons, it's usually when I'm going to sleep. Except I can't really understand anything that's going on because it's all Japanese if I have my eyes closed. So I have to pay close attention to this when I'm watching it. But I picked up the Headmaster series, and I also have Transformers Victory. I think there's one more other series for the Japanese collection that I'm missing, but that'll be the entire Japanese collection as well. Cool thing about Transformers, it didn't stop there. Now, there was a Transformers Beast Wars series that was released a couple years ago. I missed that, but I did pick up some of the other Transformers series, such as Transformers Cybertron, which was pretty cool, not bad, and Transformers Energon. Both were pretty cool watches. I think it was Cybertron, actually. Starscream became this massive Starscream and put on the crown from the movie again. So that was a pretty cool nostalgia wink for me. Anyways, guys. Oh, wait a minute. I almost forgot one. I also picked up Transformers the Animated Series. While not amazing, it was still pretty cool and enjoyable to watch. I'm disappointed that these were the only 2 DVDs in that set released. I think they kept making cartoons after Season 2, but I've never run across it, so I don't know if it was ever released. But I do have Season 1 and 2 of Transformers the Animated Series. So that is all my Transformers stuff. Well, guys, that's it, unless there's a cartoon that I'm forgetting. How could I forget this one? My absolute favorite cartoon of all time, and my favorite piece to my collection, much like Transformers, when these DVDs came out, they were ridiculously expensive, and when they went out of print, they became even more ridiculously expensive. Thankfully, the good people at Shout Factory started reproducing them, and just last Christmas, or might have been the Christmas before, they released the entire set, and I was lucky enough to pick it up, and I picked it up for a pretty good price, and that is the complete series of G.I. Joe on DVD. Now, this is the original, I want to say this is the Sunbow set, but I might be wrong on that. but I have every single episode from the original, I think they're the DIC cartoons. So I have every single G.I. Joe episode, and it's actually a really cool set. So you open up the case, and your entire DVDs are placed in there. Much like Transformers, it's an open space for the movie. And of course I had to get the movie. While definitely not the greatest thing ever produced, the G.I. Joe movie has a lot of nostalgia for me. Specifically the opening song, which is probably my favorite ever rendition of the G.I. Joe theme song. Crashing through the night comes the evil cry of Cobra, Cobra! Incredible song, and actually not a bad movie. It was also the introduction of Cobra, la 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 la, which I didn't really like. Nemesis Enforcer. Oh, I forget what the big guy's name was now. Anyways, they also killed off Cobra Commander, and in case I've never talked to you about this before, probably Chris Latta is probably my favorite ever cartoon voice person of all time. He did the voice of both Cobra Commander and Starscream, and I was so disappointed when they killed off Cobra Commander and went full on with Serpentor. Luckily enough, they brought him back in the Sunbow series of G.I. Joe, and just this year I picked up both seasons of the Sunbow series. While definitely not as good a show, even remotely, and it goes completely off track when it gets into the whole environmental forces, and they're no longer G.I. Joe, a real American hero. They're G.I. Joe, a real international hero. But still a really cool thing to have. So pretty much everything from the original two G.I. Joe series I now have on DVD, and I watch all the time. In case you're wondering, one of my favorite G.I. Joe characters of all time from the show, like a lot of people, was Shipwreck. I really think G.I. Joe was in fact Shipwreck's show. But my actual favorite toy of all time is actually from the G.I. Joe movie, and that's Tunnel Rat. I don't know why, but Tunnel Rat was my guy when it came to toys. Going out on kind of a blah point, I also have G.I. Joe Valor vs. Venom. Meh. It was a movie. Alright guys, so that's pretty much my entire cartoon collection on DVD. Still a couple other ones I want to pick up, like Mask was another show I loved growing up. Unfortunately, the DVD set is like over $100, and I don't know if I really want to pay that. There's probably a lot I'm forgetting about too, but that's everything I currently have, and that's the stuff I watch. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this little divergence from my original line of videos, and thanks for sharing my cartoon collection with me. If you love cartoons, feel free to leave a comment down there, or just contact me, and if that's something you want to talk to me about, hey, I love talking about cartoons. Anyways, I'll stop rambling. It's Michael B. the Game Genie, or Michael B. the Cartoon Genie, and I'll talk to you next time. Darkwing Duck, let's get dangerous.